Should you summon on the Hunt for Harmony Summon Showcase? Short answer, no. Long answer, let me explain. So this Summon Showcase is going to be up for a little bit. As you can see, it's actually not there right here. It is going to be up until April 11th, which is going to be when the new Void battles drop, apparently with Void Agony and the such. So Void Agony may change some things when he comes out, but at the moment I'm just going to be speaking from what we know and what I believe you should do. So I'm not going to read off everything. I just want to point out some things. First of all, 5-star featured adventurers. It's 1% because both Xander and Laranoa are on rate up. So you actually have a 1.5% chance of pulling a 5-star adventure on this banner, just like the Kuron and Heinwald banner. Except this time they have Xander on rate up, which is not a new adventure. So it's I believe this is unprecedented, so they can do this in the future from now on. It's not something that they've ever done before though. But Xander is on rate up. Quick thoughts about Xander. Xander is one of the best units in the game, one of the strongest units in the game. He's proven to clear every single challenge battle, even the master difficulties up to thus far. So if you want to pull specifically for Xander, I'm not going to say that's a terrible idea, but I would not recommend it since you may pull him eventually later on. You know, on the galas, higher rate ups, etc., maybe in tickets, on the 5-star tickets, on 5-star Dream Summon tickets, or etc. You're probably going to, I'm not going to say you're probably going to pull him, but there's a chance you can pull him eventually. But if you want him right now, this is as good of a banner as any to pull for him. There was a banner with Xander, Lily, and Xainfried, I believe, on rate up earlier. It was a couple weeks ago. So that probably would have been a better chance to pull him, I think. But this is also a chance to pull Xander if you want. Like I said, one of the strongest units of the game. Everything about him is amazing, and he's proven to be great. Only downside is you can't really use him in Hybrid Hilda. You can. He's cleared it before, but he doesn't have Burn Res, so it's going to be a little difficult. You need a good Thaniel. So those are my thoughts on Xander. Laranoa, of course, rate up. Simurgh, rate up, which is the dragon. We have Forest Bonds, wyrmprint, rate up. Fleur, rate up. Vodyanoi, rate up. So Vodyanoi, I would not recommend pulling for Vodyanoi, but if you don't have a 5-star dragon already, Max Unbind Vodyanoi is good enough to clear Hybrid Hilda with DPS units. Of course, 5-star dragon with Strength Unbinded is better, but if you don't have it, just get one copy of Vodyanoi, and with the Void Shop materials, with those stones, you can unbind him 4 times and get Max Unbinded Vodyanoi, and that is good enough to clear Hybrid Hilda. So if you don't have a copy of them, you could pull for him here. Again, I would not recommend pulling for him here because you'll eventually get a copy, but you could do that. The rest of them, there's nothing really important. I might as well just slide through it. Nothing really important. I believe there's Sisters of Anvil also on 4-star wyrmprint rate up. Yeah, so that's also something to note. But those are the main things I wanted to know on the appearance rates. Now, showcase info. Let me talk about the units really quick. Like I said, I'm not going to discuss every single thing about the units. I just want to give general info. Here is Laranoa. Her strength is behind Xander. Xander's strength is 503, I believe. Somewhere around there. That might not be exact, but it's somewhere around there. She does have more HP than Xander though, but Xander is the much better unit just because his striker's strength and force strength or force damage up is insane abilities to have with any unit really. But let's talk about Laranoa. So Laranoa is a bow unit. Bows are the most underwhelming weapon type in the game by far. Like by far. There's really no reason to use a bow over a wand at all. Wands are much better, except for co-ability, I guess. But so her skills, I'm not going to go over the first one. It's just pretty basic. But the second one, Hunter's Intuition. So for 10 seconds, increases the user and nearby ally strength by 10% and skill gauge fill rate by 20%. This is a very unique skill. Only downside of this skill is it's only for 10 seconds. It's a very big downside. If it was even 15 seconds, this skill would be insanely better. But since it's only for 10 seconds, it's not a great skill. It's really not a great skill. It increases ally strength by 10%, but it's only for nearby allies. And skill gauge fill rate by 20%, which is actually really good, but it's only for 10 seconds, which is a huge downside. SP cost to fill this up, it's going to take a little longer than the skill 1 usually. That's usually the case, so it's probably going to be the case for this time as well. So like I said, it's not a very great skill. It's not a bad skill, but it's not a great skill. It's nothing game-changing, nothing broken. It's just okay. Kill ability is normal. Abilities are actually really, really good. Only downside is that she does not have burn res. It's only stun res. This facility is a stun res facility. You need stun res adventures. You don't need, but it's recommended to use stun res adventurers, which is why Xander and Laranoa are on rate up, and they both have stun res. If you're thinking of pulling on this banner just for the worm prints, I might as well say this now. I don't recommend it since you don't need any of these worm prints to complete the facility event. But yeah, her abilities are actually very, very good. She's basically a better Christmas Nefaria, to be completely honest. She's a better Christmas Nefaria with pretty much everything in her kit. Christmas Nefaria does have a different kind of outlook on things with her skill too, but she's pretty much better Christmas Nefaria. That's basically what she is. Thing to note, the water bow does give crit rate up, so crit damage up on her ability, and then the 5-star water bow gives crit rate up, which is a very nice combination. But she has stun res, not burn res, which means in Hybrid Hilda, she's not going to be recommended. She's not going to be optimal. Let me just have a drink of water. I'm talking way too fast. So yeah, she's not going to be recommended. She's not going to be optimal for Hybrid Hilda, but she still can be used. I believe there has already been a clear in Hybrid Hilda with her. But there's no reason to pull for Laranoa unless she's your waifu. Specifically because she's not useful in endgame content. And there's nothing she can do that other adventurers cannot already do. Everything she can do, other adventurers can already do. And in the future, you might need bows for some sort of endgame content, but at the moment, bows are not really the recommended choice for any endgame content at the moment. It's really melee units reign supreme for most things, especially challenge battles. Melee units reign supreme. So Laranoa, I do not recommend pulling for her unless she's your waifu. No reason to pull for her. Next up is the dragon Simurgh. So Simurgh is a very interesting dragon. It's kind of like Cupid, how he restores HP with this skill, but it's an attacking skill which does that, so a little bit different. His abilities, though, it's very different. HP is only up by 40%, but Overdrive Punisher plus 60%. So this is very interesting. It's only up 40% water HP instead of 60% like the usual. It is the first water 5-star HP dragon, which is nice. But it's only 10% higher than Poseidon. And if you already have Poseidon, I would not recommend pulling for Dimurgh. But, what is it, Dimurgh? Or, no, Simurgh. I would not recommend pulling for Simurgh if you already have Poseidon. It will be a better choice for Thanel simply because better heals. Thanel is not meant for DPS. But in general, I do not recommend pulling for Simurgh. Yes, healing skill is nice, but Phoenix has a much better healing skill as it restores HP over time. Yes, it does damage, but it's not that much better, honestly. If you want a healing skill, Phoenix does it better. Overdrive Punisher, in comparison, it does not do as much damage as a Poseidon would do, because Poseidon offers HP and strength mixed, whereas this is only 6% damage while enemy boss is in overdrive, which is only really useful for endgame content because that's the only time bosses are in overdrive for a long time. And it's only 60% during that time. Bosses are mainly in overdrive for about a fourth to a third of the battle max. So like I said, it's really not the greatest, and I would not recommend pulling for Simurgh. It's a nice design, it's nice, a lot of things about the dragon, but if you pull it, it's really just a bonus. It's not something to really pull for on this banner. Nothing game-changing, nothing broken. The Wyrmprint Forest Bonds is actually the best Wyrmprint from bows, but like I said earlier, bows are the most underwhelming weapon type. However, if you have bows, and you're a bow main, your favorite adventurer is a bow, this is a much needed Wyrmprint. It makes them tremendously better with the bow skill damage plus 35%, strike haste plus 10%. Striking haste is not the greatest ability, but it's good. Secondary ability as the main ability is skill damage plus 35%, which is insane. It's just like the Lance Wyrmprint we had earlier and the Sword Wyrmprint we had earlier released. So it's very good. And if you're using bows, this is probably going to be the best Wyrmprint to use for all bows. But again, I would not recommend pulling specifically for this Wyrmprint unless you have a ton of Wyrmite saved up. You're ready to drop a bunch of 10-folds just aiming for this Wyrmprint, since you're probably going to need multiple 10-folds to pull it. Again, we do have a bonus going on, so you will get some more Wyrmite and 10-fold tickets, but I would not recommend pulling specifically for this Wyrmprint. It's not really worth it specifically for this Wyrmprint at all. But it is the best Wyrmprint for bows at the moment. Next up is Fleur, the 4-star light adventurer. Now, this is light, not water, so keep that in mind. She is good. She has two really nice skills. First one, phase shift, which also adds paralysis and restores HP to all allies, which is insanely interesting, honestly. The second skill is palette punch, which immediately readies the captivating canvas skill for use and increases the user strength by 25% for 5 seconds. I believe this is the first skill like this where you get your skill 1 automatically ready to use. So super interesting skill. and it might be really, really good. We have to see this in use once the end game content is out for light adventurers to be useful in. But this could be very, very useful. The only downside to Fleur is the abilities. Fleur's abilities are not too great. Paralyzed Punisher is not going to be useful for endgame content since you cannot inflict statuses? You can't inflict statuses like paralysis onto them for the most part, like the high dragons. You cannot do that. Curse Res is nice for high Zodiarch, but HP 7% equals skill haste plus 8%. This is not a good ability. It's not really going to be too useful. Skill haste is not a very good ability in the first place, and only when your HP is at 70% do you get that skill haste, which makes it even less good. Super unfortunate, but the two skills are very, very good, I would say. Very good. So it's super interesting to see how this is going to work, how Fleur is going to work once the high Zodiarch comes out. She should be good for high Zodiarch, but again, may not be recommended. We'll have to wait and see. I can't really recommend pulling for Fleur since you'll probably pull a 4-star eventually anyways. Like I said, any of these 4-star or 3-stars, I can't recommend pulling for them because you'll probably pull them eventually anyways. Same with this. Of course, if you're looking for a Sunrise Wyrmprint, you probably already have a different one. Is it Sisters of Anvil, which is the other Sunrise Wyrmprint? It might be. So you probably already have one of them. If you're looking for defense up, there's other defense up Wyrmprints, but this is just another one to be added, which is nice, I guess. Tiny Dragoniatas is really not good. I would not recommend pulling for it at all, but you do get some bonuses for the events if you do manage to pull these. But like I said, this banner overall is a skip unless you want Xander. If you don't have any water dragons, you could be going for Vaudianoy. Other than that, I honestly would recommend skipping this. We just had a Gala. You probably used a bunch of Wyrmite on that Gala. We have, a bunch more events coming up that are going to be that you might need to use your Wyrmite on so you can actually clear it, etc., etc. If you're lacking water adventurers, by all means, pull on this banner. But if you have some water adventurers, if you can clear the Master Challenge, I would recommend not pulling on this banner. It is a very easy skip. There's a lot of nice things on this banner, a lot of interesting things on this banner, but overall, you don't need anything here to clear any of the endgame content. So like I said, I would recommend skipping it for the most part unless you need Xander. Xander is really the only reason to pull on this banner. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you think you should pull, if you think you shouldn't pull. If you did pull, let me know what you got. And good luck if you are planning on pulling. Like I said, I cannot stop you from pulling. I cannot make you pull. I can only offer my recommendations. If any of these characters are your favorites, by all means, go for it. Pull for them, and good luck. Hope you guys get good pulls, and I'll see you guys later. Take care.